Good evening, what is happening, all my YouTube friends? Thanks for tuning back in tonight to the channel, right here, the Rust Belt Mechanic. So, as you guys could tell by the title of this video, we're talking about something a little bit more somber tonight, and that is the sacrifices that people make when you're in the position of being a mechanic, different phases in your career and everything, and the different sacrifices that a lot of you have made or are going to make probably here in the future.
You know what real love is, Crystal?
No.
Sacrifice.
So here tonight, as I'm working in the garage, I wanted to talk to you guys about some of the sacrifices that a lot of guys and gals in the automotive industry really need to make or do end up making a lot of the times throughout their career choice here as a mechanic. So earlier on, as you guys start off becoming mechanics, you guys have a lot of time in training and everything. If you guys start off going to school, you're going to sacrifice a lot of time working for going to school, especially if you guys are in an apprenticeship program, which I still boast is one of the best ways to get into the automotive industry and get your foot in as a more professional technician earlier on in your career. A lot of time is going to be spent in the classroom and doing a lot of training courses. Even when you're not in the classroom, when you come home, you're going to have study courses and everything to have to finish online. So a lot of the things you guys are going to have to go through early on is going to be sacrificing time for training. Now, we're going to step on over to, say, phase 2 of your automotive career.
More.
Phase 2, you're going to get into where you're coming into yourself and you're becoming a little bit more capable. You're doing jobs a little bit faster, you've got some more tools, and you're able to get the jobs done in a decent amount of time. So you get to doing that stuff and you kind of get the taste for, I guess, the cash money. So that's where we get into the side work phase of your career. The side work phase of your career is where you really enjoy doing that stuff, and then you end up out in a shop of your own. So say you either A, have a garage at home, or B, end up renting a shop month to month, around town, or some little garage or whatever from your uncle, and end up doing a lot of side work during the nights. Your girlfriend or wife or husband or whatever doesn't see you for probably 3 nights out of the week, but you know what? You're making bank, and you know what? You're probably paying the bills. You're making some great money, getting some great tools and everything, and you're building your collection, and you're also building your repertoire as a good technician who is able to complete side work. We'll just say side work's not for everybody, especially those who aren't really confident in their skills and those who, I guess, don't have a really good reputation for getting good work out the door. Word travels very fast amongst people who with loud mouths, especially in the side work kind of things where you're going to be word of mouth through like Facebook and whatnot. So if you're doing good and you're able to do a lot of side work, you're probably a pretty decent technician and you're spending a lot of time doing it. But that's where, in that part of your career, you might have the stamina, you might have the energy, and all the extra time. If you've got a spouse who's able to handle you being gone for some extra nights out of the week to earn some extra coin, then good for you. Keep on trucking right along and make those sacrifices while you can. Sorry guys, doing a little bit of work here while I'm chit-chatting, but like I said, trying to get all these things off my mind while I'm working. Next up in your careers, you're going to be doing something a little bit different. So a lot of guys, I guess the highest percentage of technicians in the industry, upwards of like 40 to 50% of the techs, are going to switch either jobs or fields or just dealerships or different shops that you're going to be at. Now that is going to be one scary trip for you. And I would definitely revert to the old saying of the grass is not always greener on the other side. As a matter of fact, I learned that pretty well about, I want to say, 3.5, 4 years into working flat rate in the field. I ended up getting a job at another dealership, and I got hired to do heavy line warranty and trans work of all things, and that was pretty much 2 or 3 years out of school. So I didn't think about it a whole lot. I just saw the dollar signs and I made a leap for it. And I ended up being at that particular job for right around, we're going to say 7.5 months or so. Did pretty decent at it, but it was not for me. Doing heavy line and doing it day in, day out. Didn't do any diagnostic work, didn't do anything different. It's just 62 TE trans, you're doing 3/6 intakes, you're doing 3/6 heads, you're doing hemi cams, and you're doing those all day long. Now I know it gets kind of, simpler as you go, but the repetitious nature of it was just, not for me. So like I said, ended up spending about 7.5 months into that one and had a learning experience of it, and ended up leaving and going back to the first dealership that I was at, and thankfully they wanted me back severely bad, so I ended up actually making a little bit more money to jump back to that dealership. So it was a little bit less scary that time, but I definitely remember jumping into that first jump for that dealership, and it was nerve-wracking, not knowing anybody, not knowing what exactly I was doing, just getting thrown to the big cheese, we'll say, for the big trans jobs and the big engine jobs and stuff that the customers generally want in the dealership life, like right freaking now. So it was a little chaotic, but you know what? I learned from the mistakes and from the experiences all the same. Now, one of the major things that a lot of technicians don't think about are the hard sacrifices that you may have to make. Yeah, nobody plans or thinks that the worst is going to happen in their career. They don't plan on getting fired. They don't plan on losing their job, but
it happens.
What, shit?
You know what? Shit happens, and the economy happens. Places go out of business. COVID happens. People get laid off. So thankfully, you guys being in the technician career, you guys have a trade skill that is highly in demand, and thankfully being in the United States, one thing that sucks about having to have all your own tools is that you have your own tools, and that's also a really great thing because those tools are in toolboxes, and those toolboxes have wheels, and wheels can wheel right on out the door, and they can go wheel right on down the street to another shop that may be looking for a pretty decently qualified technician. It's one of the reasons I always tell younger guys that are getting into the field to really stay up on the training and be some of the best that you can possibly be, because in that hard situation to where you may or may not have to leave the job that you're at, whether it be your decision or not your decision to want to leave, you may have to. So you guys got to keep that in mind all the time. Me personally, I always have some kind of a backup plan to have that for your family, especially if you have a family, having backup plans and maybe even more than one backup plan to make sure that you're always going to have some kind of a job, some kind of income if the worst were to happen. Now, a lot of you might be asking throughout a lot of this video, I've been doing a lot of kind of hands-on stuff here and there, here in the box, and kind of shuffling stuff around, and this has been one of the hardest days for me, actually, as a technician. For you guys who may be newer to the channel or not know, I left the dealership that I worked at for almost 13 years. I left about, I think it was like 4.5 months ago, 5 months ago or so, right around there. And ended up working for SP Tools as their Student Next Tech Director. Absolutely love my job and definitely would not make anything different in the change that I made. I'm definitely enjoying what I'm doing, and some of the stuff that I'm able to help with there is just a crowning achievement on what I'm able to do for both guys that are getting into the industry, giving them some great deals on tools, helping them to get into the field easier, or what that might be. Well, now we're at the point of growing pains in the family, and the sacrifices that I'm having to go through is something that a few of you guys may or may not have seen on the interwebs. throughout Facebook Marketplace, you might have noticed my name pop up quite a bit amongst the Snap-on and the tool collectors pages and whatnot, having a bunch of stuff for sale. Well, that's what I'm here doing today, is I am racking up a lot of this stuff and putting things into cases and everything here in the old toolbox, because I got to sell stuff to be able to make some extra cash money. Thankfully, this is not a die-hard situation where, I lost my job or something like that. No, we're actually looking to get a bigger house for the family, one with some nice room on the outside to grow. The house I'm in right now, we don't have a whole lot of room outside. We don't have a pool, but it's, not that much room, especially as kids are growing up now. They want room to run outside. So we're going to be moving here in the next, we'll say, couple of months, and we're moving to a place with a lot of room. We're moving to a place that has some shops on premises. So I'm going to have a place that has a place to work on stuff, actual vehicles, not this little tiny garage that I've been cooped up in here in the frigid wasteland winter of Ohio. This place just sucks in the middle of winter if you don't have a nice little getaway of a shop to go to, I'll tell you that much. But anyway, I digress. So what I'm doing right now, I'm packaging up a lot of my tools because I'm selling off a bunch of them. The house that we're moving into, I need to get a little bit more of a down payment to be able to get into the house where we want to. Not that big of a deal, but stuff does have to go. And thankfully, being in the tool industry, if I sell off some of these tools and stuff, that obviously some of the things that I have in this professional technician's toolbox, I'm not really going to use on everyday projects in the actual garage. Yeah, some of the stuff you guys might like to see, but some of this stuff that I'm selling off, I really wouldn't need in those aspects. I'm trying to keep quite a bit of it, I guess, to be able to have working on from this point out. But if there's things that I do sell that I end up needing in the future, I do kind of work for a tool company now, so I might be able to get some tools at some pretty good prices, or next to nothing, hopefully. And we're going to be able to still crank on with some awesome content here on the channel. So here I am, packaging up some tools and some sockets and everything, getting some stuff shipped out the door. And today has actually been one of the very hardest ones, because today's the day I said okay to an offer on selling my toolbox. Yeah, and thank you guys very much, everybody who gave me comments and sent messages like, oh man, I can't believe you're selling your box. You were the inspiration of me wanting to buy a toolbox just like this one. And, thank you guys. I really do appreciate everything. But at this point in the career, we have priorities, and making sacrifices for the family is one of those things that is higher on a priority than a toolbox is. Everyone always like to remind me when I bought this expensive toolbox, it's just a box, and the tools inside and the technician using them are the biggest part of the job that you're going to be working on. And that's one of the things we'll focus on here on the channel, definitely by far. But like I said, sad, somber day. The actual Epic Series toolbox is getting emptied out tonight. So that's what I'm doing right here, right now. It's kind of a hard time, but I'm getting it done, and we're going to get things done and move right along here on the channel. Like I said, guys, do not fret, not going anywhere. The channel's not going anywhere. You guys know that here lately, things, just because we're doing some major changes, you might see a little bit of delay in the action when videos coming up to you. But like I said, things will come back to more of a normal stature, I would say about early to mid-summer coming up here in 2021. Big project still on the books. Project 300, I still own that one. Still got a junk engine, still going to build it. So that's going to be a fun one. Still going to have the Duramax. No, I'm not selling that thing for all you 2,000 other people who have been asking me, if you're selling your toolbox, will you sell me your truck? No.
Sorry, not gonna happen.
That's not for sale. So getting moving on that one, and you guys are going to love it when you see the new shop and the new digs when we end up moving into that one. It's going to be an amazing video series, doing some upgrades and building a personal shop of my own. I'm going to love that one, absolutely. So make sure you guys stay tuned. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe, hit the bell notification. Right down there. Right down there. Make sure you push it right there. I appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. And as always, you guys stay awesome.